So whenever you'd like to start, Andy.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the 54th Charter Celebration of the Delware-Otsego Audubon Society. My name is Andy Mason. I'm one of the 3 co-presidents of the organization. For those of you who haven't been to either our charter dinner or our charter celebration in the past, the term charter comes from our organization receiving a charter from the National Audubon Society as an official chapter, and that happened 54 years ago. And at that time, the next year, there was a dinner held to celebrate the granting of the charter, and it has continued ever since. None of the original folks are among our leadership anymore, but we certainly stand on their shoulders for having kept the organization going for all that time and continuing today. So how the evening is going to go is that we will be doing an initial kind of a review of the year, the past year that we have experienced, our activities, which are quite broad, as you'll hear. We'll be switching back and forth a little bit between people who have responsibilities for these activities. So you'll be seeing a few faces other than mine tonight. You're very fortunate. The first thing I would like to do, though, is, let me make sure I mention the raffle. We do have a raffle of some great items going on, which we normally have at the dinner, so you can actually put your hands on the items. Here you'll have to just look at them. And the raffle sales will continue until 7:30 this evening. You can do it online. And at the end of the evening, we will be doing the drawings for the raffle. So take a look at these items and you can get your last minute tickets in. This presentation obviously is virtual, and this is the second year in a row that we've had a virtual event for this celebration due to the COVID restrictions. And hopefully next year we'll be back to our real meal where we can have a nice meal and a nice drink and face-to-face conversation. I would like to introduce our board members. And you can put up your little virtual hand, or I guess you could actually wave when I call your name. Becky Gretton is one of our other co-presidents, one of the 3 co-presidents. Susan O'Hanley, who is responsible for all the technical part of this program and our other events, is the 3rd co-president. Charlie Scheim is treasurer. Dorian Hunnicky is secretary. Our board of directors is made up of Jane Backman, Nate Cutting, Catherine DeVino, Rob Katz, Londa Palmer, Pam Peters, Janet Potter, and Tom Sallow. And I can tell you they're a great group of people and a pleasure to work with. And I think with that introduction, I'm going to turn it over, I believe, to Becky to talk about our activities.
Thank you,
our
Andy.
programs.
Thank you, Andy. Yep. We continue with our online programs via Zoom, fortunately. We've hosted 9 educational program meetings for almost 1,000 people, including Florida Reflections with Rick Bunting, Birding for Bald Eagles with Hanford Mills Museum and Virtual Ice Harvest Festival. We went in search of the great gray owl with Kyle Dudgeon. We visited the land down under with Pam Lee and followed migratory birds to coffee plantations with Scott Weidensaw. Our members and friends photo share was a great way to end our spring program season. We will be doing this again in May of 2022. So start getting those great photos along with an explanation of why they mean something to you. We began the fall with favorite stories from Rick Bunting, who topped our charts with 170 registrations and an additional 20 who viewed the recording. Tonight, we are treated to the return of Scott Weidensaw, award-winning author who will be describing his work with the Northern Saw-Whet Owl. And we will close out our year with a close-up look at the American Crow with Dr. Ann Clark on Friday, November 16th on Zoom, and pre-registration is required. Susan?
Thank you, Becky. I'm going to jump into our work on climate action. Between January and March this past year, we hosted programs that included climate action panel discussion, solid waste recycling and composting with representatives from Otsego and Delaware solid waste departments. We did climate action at home with Kevin Schultz from Hartwood College. We explored the ins and outs of electric vehicles with owners Tom and Celeste Tees, and looked at green heating and cooling options with Heat Smart Mohawk Valley. As an outgrowth of our seminar series, we presented our first ever electric car show in Oneonta with about 20 vehicles on display with their owners answering questions for about 100 or more visitors. We are looking forward to doing this again in 2022, likely later in the summer months, and as part of a larger collaborative event. Through our climate action program, we provided over $8,000 in funding towards local projects, which included a stream restoration and stabilization project with the Otsego Land Trust at Brookwood Point in Cooperstown, a campus-wide B Campus USA certification for SUNY Oneonta, creating an outdoor classroom and pollinator garden at Guilford Elementary School, a program to install and monitor bluebird nest boxes in the town of Middlefield through a local citizen group working collaboratively with the municipality that is just starting on climate smart communities initiatives, and an effort to create a community-wide education and outreach program in the village of Delhi about the importance of planting with native species and the eradication of invasives. The Delhi Homegrown National Park project will be featured with a special program on March 15th, and we're hoping that that can be a template for other communities in our region who may be interested in replicating a program similar to that in their region or in their community, and will also coincide with a kickoff to a special new native plant sale that we'll be holding. It'll be a pre-order program similar to birdseed sale, and we'll have plant pickup in about mid-May. We created our own network platform and currently have a little over 50 people who are enrolled as part of that network. We'll be continuing to work on growing our network and expanding this as a resource and information sharing platform, and possibly some additional special programs through that piece. We are actively seeking people in our membership and in our region's communities to participate with us in working together to help reach climate-related goals. Join our new network, register for upcoming online workshops, or view the recordings after they're over and help move our communities forward through action. You can contact me at info@doas.us for more information. We worked this year also to promote tracking baseline household carbon through participation with Cure 100, which is Communities United to Reduce Emissions 100% by 2040. We hope that if you have not yet set up your data, that you will do so soon, because it's important to see where we're starting and how we progress through the next 20 years. Visit our website at doas.us/carbon tracker so that you can be recorded as part of our region's communities. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me for help. I'm happy to walk people through that system. We had a number of special events this past year. One of them was Earth Festival, which was virtual this year, which included a hawk count at Davis State Park, virtual presentations about DOAS, beginning birding and the dangers of lead ammunition, climate action, community information. We also provided activities and crafts for young birders, a live question and answer session with DOAS board members, and promoted a community climate action pledge. For Earth Day 2022, we're looking at working collaboratively on a student climate rally, and we'll have more to come on that soon. We had approximately 100 people who participated in our summer family programs this year, which we offered in lieu of our day camp, and was led by camp directors Liz Brown and Chris DeCesar. Our fall open house at Hawkwatch was held just a few weeks ago with great attendance and a special lead poisoned bald eagle release following a short program from Friends of the Feathered and Furry Wildlife Center. And I'll just show this because it was spectacular. It's very short, I promise, like less than 30 seconds, but it was certainly a highlight of the afternoon, just to see this bird just pop its head out of the box and fly off and land in a tree right at the perimeter of the field. So that's that. We would like to, oh, how do I get out of this? There we go. Just pause for a moment to recognize the passing of wildlife rehabilitator and director of the Wildlife Center, Missy Runyon, just a few days after Hawkwatch. Missy presented at the open house for many years and worked with us on our non-lead ammunition campaigns. She's a tremendous advocate for wildlife, and her death is a heartbreaking loss for our environmental community. So we'll just recognize that and continue. We had 9 wonderful issues of the Belted Kingfisher, produced with thanks to Janet Potter for an amazing job, and some design updates with input from John Newman, who had reached out to us with some helpful tips. And this is just the difference kind of before the updates on the design and after. And I hope you'll all agree that it's just a really gorgeous piece to receive in the mail for our membership. Our camp and summer programs were canceled in 2021, but we hope that they will be offered again in 2022. I'm going to turn this over to Charlie to talk a little bit about our citizen science programs for this year and the Breeding Bird Atlas update. Unmute your mic.
DOAS does a lot of citizen science programs, a lot of various bird counts, beginning soon in around February with the Great Backyard Bird Count. Anyone can do that. You just need to count birds that come to your feeders. It's a great way to start getting involved. Then we also have the big day in May. Everybody's involved in doing that as well. We have lots of teams go out. We usually have somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 people that go out in a bunch of teams looking for all the birds that they can find. It's a great way to have fun. Coming up soon will be the Christmas bird counts. We're going to have 3 of them, as we always do. The first one in early to mid-December is the one that's around Oneonta and the Milford area. A second one near the end of December will be up in the Fort Plain area. And the third one at the beginning of January is down in Delaware County. Sandy Bright is in charge of the Oneonta one. Bob Donnelly is in charge of the Fort Plain count. And Pam Peters is in charge of the Delaware County count. You can contact them if you want to get involved. We also do the waterfowl count for the New York State Ornithological Association. And that happens usually during January and February time. And finally, the count that I want to talk to you for a little while about is the New York State Breeding Bird Atlas, NYBBA 3. So we can change slides. So the New York State Breeding Bird Atlas 3, this is the third breeding bird atlas that New York State has conducted. And the main goal of a breeding bird atlas is to simply document what species are living and breeding in New York State. And the reason you want to do that is because, for one reason, you want to understand what's happening to bird populations over time. That's important to help guide conservation efforts, land use efforts. Another big reason to do a breeding bird atlas is to involve people, engage people as citizen scientists, and also to promote the appreciation of our world around us. Now, you might wonder, well, what do atlasers do? What happens is New York State gets divided up into over 5,000 little blocks. Now, by little, they're 3 miles by 3 miles, so there's a lot of them. And then, does this slide develop more, Susan? Because here we go. The first thing an atlaser does is visit one of these blocks. And that's one of the things about an atlas, is that you have to work within a block. And then secondly, you try to observe the bird behaviors that you see. Here's a picture of kestrels copulating. That turns out to be what birds atlasers call courtship, and it makes these kestrels get rated as a probable breeder in that area. And then finally, atlasers enter their data into eBird. eBird is really the tool that makes this all go nowadays. And here's a good example of what you can get from an atlas. So New York has done 3 atlases, one in 1980 till 1985. They last for 5 years, and they happen every 20 years. In 2005, 2000 to 2005, and then again this current one. And notice in the left-hand diagram, those little dots that you see are places where bald eagles nested in New York State. And as you can see, in 1980, there were hardly any bald eagles. The 2000 atlas showed that there were more bald eagles nesting in New York State. And now, in this current atlas, after only 2 years, remember this is a 5-year effort, after only 2 years, you can see all the bald eagle nesting sites that have been reported so far. On the other hand, you can also follow decreasing populations. You may have noticed that, at least I've certainly noticed, I've been seeing less and less swallows this year. And you can see that in the atlas results. In 1980, swallows were almost everywhere, except a little bit in the Adirondacks. In 2000, their numbers were starting to decrease, but not terribly noticeably. But we're going to find now in our current atlas, you can see there's a big area in the Adirondacks where there's very few swallows being reported, and also in the Catskills as well. So the atlas right now, we're into 2 years of this third atlas. There's been lots of atlasers submitting lots of checklists. The state, like I said, is divided into all these blocks, and about a third of them are called priority blocks. Most of these priority blocks have been visited at this point, although just being visited doesn't really finish the block off, but it's a good start. And now let's go to the next slide. But just saying that there's been a lot of activity doesn't really reveal what's going on, and this is important to notice. This picture shows you the activity that's happened in various counties in New York State, what we call the Atlas effort hours. Very light color counties have had hardly any activity, and as the shade gets darker to a very dark blue, like for example, Tompkins County is a very dark blue, it has had over 13,000 Atlas effort hours. Of course, that's not surprising considering that Ithaca is in Tompkins County along with Cornell University and all of the super duper birders that belong to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. But still, it shows you the difference. And what I'd like you to notice in particular is our area. Our 4 counties Shenango, Delaware-Otsego, and Schoharie need work. You can see Otsego is sort of a middling blue color. Delaware is a lighter blue color. Schoharie is practically white, and Shenango is also a very light color. And over in the table on the right, you can see the actual hours so far. We need work. And so if you'd like to join us or you'd like to get more information, I really would welcome you. It turns out I'm one of the regional coordinators for this Breeding Bird Atlas, and it's important for us to get information and get people to find that information. You can go to the website at ebird.org/atlasny and find out all kinds of stuff. There are Facebook discussion groups. You can contact me, Charlie Scheim, there's my email right there on the screen. In the spring, Sandy Bright, my wife, and I will be conducting a number of, there's Sandy right there, we'll be conducting a number of Atlas workshops to help people get used to the idea. And we welcome everybody from beginners up to very good birders. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm back here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our Franklin Mountain Hawk Watch. One of the activities that the organization is best known. Another long-term project. We're now in our 33rd year of counting migrating raptors in the fall at Franklin Mountain. It's located on the Delware-Otsego Audubon Society Sanctuary, and we welcome visitors. The counters there almost every day from late August into December, except when it's raining. The birds don't fly when it's raining. We've had a pretty good season so far, the early season, a good number of broad-winged hawks, and now we're getting into the later season birds, and we are eagerly anticipating the first golden eagle, which our hawk watch is well known for. And they usually arrive in the second half of October, and they peak in November and taper off in December. So really any time now, the first golden eagle could show up. The best flights are on north and northwest winds, kind of cold days. And you can get information on when we expect a good flight by signing up for an alert system on our website. If you have been up to the Hawk Watch recently, you will see it looks a little messy, to say the least. Over these 33 years, we have lost a good portion of the view that we need to spot the hawks, particularly the far horizon. This is looking out over the Susquehanna Valley. If the trees weren't there, you could see the city of Oneonta down there. But the trees were blocking our view, and we knew we needed to do something about it. We considered a few options. One was building a tower, which would have been, aesthetically unpleasant, sticking up in the air there, and also would have been expensive and raised liability and safety issues. We actually considered stopping the Hawk Watch altogether because we did not want it to be an inaccurate count because of the loss of the view compared to the past numbers, because the data that we gather goes into a larger database, and for many of the same reasons that Charlie talked about, monitoring avian populations. And then the third option was cutting trees, which we obviously didn't want to do lightly because we're a conservation organization, and the sanctuary is intended as just that, a sanctuary for wildlife. But we did make the decision to cut about 1/3 of an acre of land, which is less than 0.5% of the area of the sanctuary. And this picture here shows the clearing, and you can see now that we can again see the far horizon. It doesn't look good right now, as any logging operation does, but we have seeded the area, and we will be putting some low-growing vegetation in there, apple trees. So it will be coming back. It will be bird habitat again, and it'll be a green again by next summer. So don't be scared off by what we've done there. It's a benefit for the hawk watch. The work at the sanctuary and including that clearing and some of the other improvements that we have planned there was funded by a generous donation from Nancy New, whose family has had a long connection with our organization back to her father, John New. And so we really thank Nancy for that. So, I'm going to continue on. There's been a couple of outgrowths of the hawk watch, particularly regarding golden eagles. Since we do get these birds regularly and in good numbers, we have taken a special interest in them, and we've done a few projects over the years, including capturing some of them and fitting them with GPS transmitters that show us where they move. They nest way up in northern Quebec and Labrador in Canada. And then another issue we've been involved with is lead poisoning of both golden eagles and bald eagles. It turns out that both of these species are very susceptible to small amounts of lead. A piece of lead the size of a grain of rice can kill an eagle. And one of the main sources, probably the main source of lead in eagles, is ammunition left over after wildlife is shot, especially deer. Hunters will use lead ammo. It fragments into little pieces. The deer are wounded and die, not recovered, or the entrails are left out in the field, and the animals, the birds, scavenge them and get quite sick. The release eagle that we just saw in that short video was a lead poisoned eagle that had been treated and we hope recovered well, but they don't all do that. The majority of them do die or have to be euthanized because they're so sick. So we encourage hunters to switch to copper bullets, which don't have the same effect on eagles, don't have the same fragmentation. And those are available, and we have done an education campaign trying to get hunters to make that switch. We have also been involved, again, because of Migrating Raptors, in review of wind projects. And we're supporters of renewable energy. We have a formal position on that, but we do believe it needs to be cited properly. One project that was down in Broome County, a large project that was recently approved, we felt very concerned about, and we actually monitored birds down there and found that there was a significant number of birds going through where these turbines will be located. And we kind of fought that in the courts and in the review process, but it appears that that project is going to proceed. And then a second effort that we have ongoing, that we're a part of a legal action, is a challenge to the newer siting regulations for the state for both solar and wind projects. And we feel that those regulations do not sufficiently protect wildlife in the planning for these projects. So we have challenged that along with a number of other organizations. So that's not, hands-on conservation, but we do feel it's important to do. And I think that's about it for me for the time being.
Thank you, Andy. I do want to mention that you'll notice if you head down to the sanctuary that there is a new road sign installed at Old Southside Drive, which is highly visible from the intersection of South Main Street and Route 23 in Oneonta. There's another one at the intersection of Swart Hollow and Grange Hall Roads and at the turn into the sanctuary. Just a couple of statistics. In 2019-20, October to September, we had about 13,000 visitors to our website. in 2021, that number's jumped up to a little over 23,000, which is great. Our check-ins of people using the QR code at the sanctuary reflect over 220 groups who visited the site. And we expect that that represents just a fraction of the totals because not everybody will check in using that QR code. We love that, you know, organic search is a good traffic generator for our site. So people search for us, they find us, they come to our website, and those statistics are great. Facebook, if you haven't signed up for liking our Facebook page, you should definitely go and do that. We've grown our followers to a little over 1,200, and last year this has allowed us to reach over 76,000 people with messages and posts. And that's just so far in 2021. So be sure to like our page, and a big thank you to Catherine Davino for her work in providing excellent content, and also to members and friends who regularly contribute items, Rick Bunting, Barb Palmer, Londa Palmer, and so many more. I do want to kind of just rush us through the last little bit here. We had some really wonderful fundraisers despite the pandemic. Our optics raffle was a huge success for our second year, and with your support, we're preparing to continue this in 2022, and we'll have details available probably sometime in mid to late January. Our birdseed sale fundraiser, which was reinstated at the very last minute. Information has been mailed out to all of our members, and certainly our charter dinner tonight for those who made a contribution or purchased raffle tickets. It's really been quite a great success, and we very much appreciate your support. Thank you also to our business sponsors. In the past, this has been a very lonely group, and we've had Rod Spangle Antiques and his Antique Clock Repair as our business sponsor for several years now, which we're so grateful for. And this year, we've formally increased that and have the Fernery at White House joining us, who will be a partner in our native plant sale in the spring, and Wild Birds Unlimited, who have supported with some great products for that optics raffle. So sponsorships help support all our programs. If you know someone who might be interested in joining this group, we'd really appreciate you forwarding them along to me at info@doas.us.